back to my channel. It's Joseph. So last time we spoke about different data types, at least the basic ones, the strings, the numbers, that's integers, floats, and boolean, right? I think we spoke about some other things, so you can always check that out, right? This is a continuation. So today I would say let's talk about since we are still in the series of basic Golang for absolute beginners. So let's talk about arrays and slice in with their indexing, what indexing means in most programming language, concentration with Golang, and then we'll talk about loops, and then we'll probably go into functions, right? So you might be hearing about arrays a lot. I know arrays, there's probably arrays in all there's probably an array or arrays in all programming language, right? As I know, I'm not sure. Yeah, but when it comes to array is simply a container in which you keep things. You just keep keeping things. Like, for example, you have a container which you can keep 1 bottle, 2 bottles, 3 bottles, 4 bottles, 5 bottles. Just keeping piling things in the container. That's just the basic explanation of what an array is, right? But in Golang, arrays are a bit different from the general arrays that you might be familiar with. So an array, and that's why in Golang we have arrays and slices, right? In Golang, an array is limited, while slices is like an array but takes multiple things, like unlimited amounts of things, right? While an array, if you are going to specify an array, you must specify the number of things that can be inside that array. For example, right, you can say I want a container that can only hold 3 boys, or three containers, or 3 things. Or I want but if you don't specify any number, that means it's unlimited. It's no more an array, it's a slice, right? Funny, right? So we now, and also, like I mentioned before, Golang is a strongly typed language, so you must specify what can be stored in the array or slice. For example, is this slice going to be used to store integers, floats, booleans, strings, or and so on? So let's go into code, right? So let's just do array1, right? Let's do array1 is equals to, this is an example of an array. An example of an array you have, for example, let's say an array that takes 5 items, right? String. Obviously, like I said, it's strongly typed. You have to specify that it's a string. So now, as I specify that this is a string, you can't put a number in this array. It's gonna throw an error, right? Like there. And like, for example, you can put any kind of string you want. You can also, and you can't put a boolean here. That's not a string either, so it's gonna give you an error. Like I said, you can put any amounts of amounts of strings you want, right? So now you can see that this is an error. So you have to change this into a string, because it only takes string, right? And then you notice, right, it takes the capacity that it can take is 5, right? That's the highest items this array can take. So now it's 4, we are okay. So you can still add one more item, boys, okay. But then again, you can add any more, like men, you can add that, right? You can't add that here because this is out of index, that's out of bounds, right? That's just the simple logic there, right? That's it. But when it comes to when it comes to slices, let's do slice 1. When it comes to slices, we can always have, right? So we can have as many as possible. We can have boys, girls, you can have just anything you want, through any string you want, any string you want. So you can just keep going. Women, men, even etc, right? You can keep going because this can take in as many as possible, unlimited amounts of things. That's what slice does for you, right? Slice can take unlimited amounts of anything, right? So now let's talk about length of, right? The length of. So now we know that let's talk about, okay, length of indexing, right? The length of this array obviously is quite easy. You can look at, you can see it here, 5, right? It's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's not confuse with this, right? You can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that the length is 5, right? So even if you are doing length of, you can always do length of array 1, right? Also, let's also print out length of array 2, or length of slice. What is that? Okay, let's also print out the length of slice 1, 2, sorry, let's have this length. Array 1 length slice 1 length. So basically this, the length of array 1 is going to be 5, and the length of slice 1 basically going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Probably 8. So save this and let's run it here. Go run main.go. So let's clear whatever we have on the terminal first. Clear. Go run main.go. As you can see, 5 and 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So that's simple. Length of, with this you can get the length of anything, any array, any slice, you can get the length of anything, right, with that. So now let's talk about looping, which would actually take us into indexing. So then you understand why we had to print the length, right? But first of all, let's get rid of this. We don't need this. We don't need. Let's get rid of it. So let's rename this to maybe array 1. Let's make this our. Don't confuse this. Let's just make this. Call it anything, array, whatever. So let's talk about looping, right? This for i starting from 0, right? From I equals to 0, that's starting from 0. I less than length of array, and then I plus plus, right? Sorry, this should be length of. Let's take this out. We don't have need for this anymore, right? So this is it. So what this says is that, right, I is called index, right? In almost every programming language you have indexing, right? So the question, what's indexing? Indexing is just the position of an item at any given time, right? That's basically it. So for example now, and in most programming language, in every programming language I know of, it starts from 0, except stated otherwise. It starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you're having an index here, you're going to, so what you're saying, if you start from index 0, which is 6, and then, so let me just spell it out here for you. In index, right? Let's do this. This should be index 0, index 1, 2, 3, so that we know what we are working with. 4, 5, index 5, 6, 7, right? So what this says is that you're starting from the first index, that's index 0, right? And then you check if the index, you pick index 0, you check if the index is less than the length of the array, the length of this array, which we already, you know, it's 8 here, like we counted it. This is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, is 8. And then if it's less than 8, basically you're saying if this starting from 0, if you take the index starting index 0 and you take the index which is 6, if that index which is 0 is less than 8, which is the length of this array, then shift move to the next index, right? Do what basically you do something here, you do something, then you move to the next index. This plus plus, so you're adding 1 to that index. So 0 plus 1, it gives you 1. So now the index now is no more 0. This index becomes 1 because you have added plus plus. Plus plus is like saying plus 1. This is like saying plus 1, right? But that's not the syntax. It's like saying I is equals to I plus 1, right? I plus 1. This is what it means. Plus plus, like saying I is like saying 0 is equals to 0 plus 1, which you'll be coming into this index next. That's index 1, right? So plus plus. So just know what plus plus mean, right? In case you find it somewhere else, right? Basically that's it. So again, you get something like so now this becomes 1, right? Since this is, so you say it's 1, which is boy, is it less than 8, which is the length of this? If yes, do something, then add 1 to that index, which is 1 plus 1 is 2 index. So that's how looping works. We keep going until it satisfies this condition. Basically it's going to satisfy that condition. If it gets here, if it gets to what do you call it, if it gets to maybe index 7, right? When it gets to index 7 and then it checks, it's probably going to check, okay, fine, is 7 index 7 less than length? Yeah, it's going to do it. So it's not going to do another you add 1 to I, which is going to be 7, right? 7 plus 1, that's 8. And then it now comes back here, I is equals to 8. Is 8 less than the length? Which is no, 8 is not less than the length, so it's not going to do anything, right? It stops. That's the condition. Once it gets you didn't say it's equals to, so you said less than, so that's it. So after 7 it stops. So now let's just have a few, right? Let's do something. Let's just do basic thing. Let's just print it out, print whatever we have there. So let's just log dot print line, log dot print line. As you can see, whatever it's importing here, so always remember, if you're having error, you might try and do the imports. So what we'll do now, let's print out the index. We'll print out the index, which is I. Obviously we'll print out the I, and then we'll print out the word, then we'll print out the array, because we are printing out the array of that index. So we now print out the array of I, right? So what's going to happen? So we are going to see for the first one, let's take this out. We don't need this here for now. So for the first case, right? Yeah, also take this out. I might not need it too. What is that? Let me see this. FNT print line. All right, just leave it there, right? Let's just leave the print line there anyways. So what we are doing here, right? We are basically, what we're doing is we're just going through this. Once it gets, for example, right, it's going to the first is going to print 0, 6, which is the array of index 0. Then it goes again, it's going to print 1 as index, and then boys, which is going to be array of index 1. So that's what we have here. Let's save this and go around. You can see it just keeps logging it. It logs the first index here, the word, index the word, index the word. So this is how looping works, right? This is the basic thing about looping when it comes to Golang. This is how looping works, right? So let's try and do maybe small calculations with looping, right? So if this is we are just printing out words, right, which basically you might not really have any use for this, right? But now let's do plus maybe 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, some small calculation, right? So let's just make this an array of integer, right? Int. Obviously, like, it's gonna be, we're gonna have errors all over here, right? Because these are strings, not ints. So you're going to start having ints. Let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm that lazy here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Let's just leave it at 9. So yeah, I'm that lazy. So 1 to 9. Obviously, the length of an array there is 9. So let's take this out. Don't need this. So what should we do here, right? We know how we do know how calculation works, right? 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 2. So that's fine. In case you need to be reminded how that works, we can always just do A is equals to 1, B is equals to 2 or 4, right? And then C is equals to, you can always do C is equals to A plus B, right? A plus B. Then you print C out. So that's how calculation works, right? Sorry, short term. Then you print C out. So you're gonna have, we're expecting 5, right? That's how calculation works. The same thing, or you can just do it or you can just do 1 plus 1 or 7, print out 7 minus 5. We should have 2. So these are quite basic. If you know 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, you can do. So now let's talk about doing something a bit cool for you for beginners. Can be quite cool, right? So all you have to do is just import log here. So that's it, right? That should work. That should work. So, oh, you know what? You might not need it anyway, but can just do log. See, import it on its own. Log print line. Yeah, print line, whatever. So now this is what we are doing. So what should we do? What should we do, right? Let's say we have a container. Yeah. Let's say we just have sum. You can just do var sum int, right? Or better yet, you just specify sum equals to 0, because what you want to do is, like, you want to keep adding things. So you're starting from, you add 0 plus whatever things you're adding plus the next thing plus the next thing. So you just have a sum, right? I'm just playing around with some things just to show you the way loop works. So now let's do something we can easily calculate. So I'm not going to be reading all these things. So right now we know we're having 2 plus 1, that's 3, 3 plus 3, 6 here. So right now let's do something that we'll probably be expecting 6, right? Maybe expecting 6. So what you're doing, what you're saying is that you start from index 0, which is 1, right? When you start from index 0, which is actually 1, all you're doing is sum is equals to, you're making this sum to be equals to sum plus array of index I. That's simple. So whatever it's going to do is that it's going to keep looping this. It's going to keep looping. So when it starts from index 0, right, which is 0 is equals to I, it takes the whatever is in that index, which is 1, and adds it to some at the initial state is going to be 0, right? And then from there it's going to now take the second one index. It's going to go to index 1, take the second one, adds it, so it's going to be 2 plus, which is now 1. Yes, 1 now, right? 0 plus 1 is 1. Then going to add. So when it gets to the last one and it finishes, it breaks out of this loop. Once it breaks out of this loop, right, it now, so let's print what sum is here, right? Let's just print what sum is here. Save this, and we are good to go, right? Let's say go run main.go. You can say that sum is 6 here, so you can add 5 to that, and let's run it down. See 11, 6 plus 5, that's 11. So that's how looping works, right? That's how looping works in Golang, right? Basically, you can play around with it, you can browse about it, you can check out 1 or 2 things about it. Just feel free, walk around it. The thing about coding is that you need to practice these things. You need to, I hope you have installed it, because that's what I did on the last video. I hope you have installed it on your system. You have you're practicing with me, you're coding along with me, right? So now let's talk about functions. Yeah, functions to many is the building block, right? If you are going to start writing cool apps, cool applications, cool stuff, it starts with function. It starts with a function, and function happens to be a data type too, right? Happens to be a data type. So you just need to know how the signature of function. So in Golang, this is how you identify. This is how you specify a function. You give a function a name. Func is general term. You give a function a name. Let's say func sum, right? Summation. Let's just do func summation. And then let's just start like this for example. When it comes to a function in Golang, right, you have to specify what that function, if the function needs to take something, you need to specify what that function is taking, the type is taking. So it doesn't matter the name you use to specify, but you need to specify the type. For example, now for an example, this function, let's just start with the basic, right? The function, let's say this function takes 2 integers, right? 2 integers and returns the sum of the 2 integers. For example, we are having, it takes a, which is an int, specific, like, you know, it doesn't matter what you call it, a, b, c, but just have to specify what type it is. And it also takes b, which is also an int, right? And what does it return? Then you have to specify what you want your function to return. You can't just if it's going to return something, you have to specify what it wants to return. If it doesn't return something, you just want to print it out, fine, you print it out, right? Okay, let's just do this. So this function does it logs or fmt print line, it prints fmt prints, it prints a plus b. That's the function. It's just going to print that. It's just going to print that. So now let's take this off. Let's take this off, right? What do we need? Take this off, so we don't really need this. Let's just comment this about. Let's take it off. We can write it again. So now how do you call your function, right? How do you call your function? This is easy. Let's say whatever, give it a value. You can always give it a value. What value are you gonna give it? Let's just say a. You have an a. Let's say what value. I don't really like naming things. I have like the most awkward names. Let's just say my function. Yeah, my function is equals to So this is it. You can see the function over here. That's the function, and this function is expecting an integer a and b. So you can just do this function takes in 6 comma another integer 4, right? What is it now? What is it? Okay, sorry, you're not naming this function. There is no return statement, so we'll come back to that, right? This is the function. So you can just, all you have to do is you can just print this function out, right? Just print it. Sorry, you're not printing anything. Let's take this out. The fmt print is inside the function, right? The fmt print is inside the function, so you can just have it there. So what it's going to do, this function is just going to print out, since the fmt print is inside, it's just going to print out 6 plus 6 and 4, which is going to be 10, right? You can change values. You can even call another function, right? Call another function. Let's do 1 comma 3, which is going to be 4. Call as many functions as possible. So that's the thing with a function. Once you write a function, you can use it in different places. You can use it however you like. You can pass in whatever value you want to pass it at any time. That's why functions are important, right? So let's save this and run it so you can see how that works like magic. Yeah, you can see the first one is 10, obviously. 6 plus 4, 10. 1 plus 3, that's 4, right? Now let's talk about the return value of a function. Let's talk about return value of the function, right? Let's take this out. So when you're talking about return value, you can also specify that maybe you don't want to just print it out, because this, as when you print this out, you're basically not using the values for anything, right? You're not using the values for anything. So you might want to actually return whatever value you are getting, right? So now when it comes to, like we all know, I've said it times without numbers, Golang is strongly typed, right? So you need to specify what type you are returning. So an example, we want to return an integer back so that we can use it to do other things, right? You can also maybe use it to do whatever you want to do. So right now, so you have to specify that you have to return something, and the thing must be an integer. So right now, to write this function, you might just say c is equals to a plus b, right? You can do a c is equals to a plus b, and then you return a c. That works. So what this is going to do is that whenever there is a plus, it's going to be a plus b, saves it in the container c and returns the container c. So now you can use it anywhere. So right now we can just do answer, because when you're returning, since you're returning this value, right, you might need to save this value in another variable or container and then use it as at will, right? So you can always do answer is equals to some. So let's just do 10 comma 10, right? We're doing 10 comma 10. So now let's do, obviously you're gonna get 20. So now you can always use this answer times 2. You can always do times 2, right? You can always do times 2, right? Let's just fmt, let's just log that out, or fmt print line ans times 2, right? You can always print it out. So you're probably going to have 20 times 2, 40, right? You can always just, or you can just do fmt print line the answer, right? So whatever you want to do with the function, you can do with the function, right? So that's why function is actually cool, like the building blocks, right? Sorry, let me save that. I didn't save that. So you have 40 here, 40 times 2, obviously 20, 10 plus 10, 20 plus 2 times 2, 40, and then you also have 20 here, right? So that's how function works. So for you to learn functions better, you can always browse function, learn functions better. I'm going to let's say recommend a web page that would help you with your, what do you call it, algorithms. You need to start solving algorithms, which are usually functions, right? You start solving algorithms. Let me see. I think Hakarang. I use Hakarang a lot because when I started, I used Hakarang a lot. So if you can solve lots of algorithm in Hakarang, you're building your mental power. Let me just log in here. Yeah, let's remember me. Hopefully this is the part. Alright, just log in. Please just log in. Oof, that's strange. Yeah, accept whatever. So problem solving. Let's go to basic, right? Problem. No, not this, not this, not this. Continue. So basically, when you come here, you go to algorithms. Yeah, I've solved this. I've solved a lot of this, right? So you can start solving. Just solve anything, right? Solve basically. Let's just solve the. I've already solved this anyway. Let's just solve it again. So let's just try. If you restart, if you get to Hakarang, right? If you come into Hakarang, you need to find a way to solve things. The more things you solve in Hakarang, the better the better your what do you call it, your thinking, the better the way you think and process information, right? So for example, yeah, you can see this is a function. Obviously, you're going to solve things with this function. So what this is just telling you, saying you need to know that it's expecting a u int here. Whenever they put a u int here and they put a u int here, they're supposed to get a value that is equals to a u int. So basically, you're just doing a plus b, which is what we did there. Although us here, we're using integer. Here, you're seeing u int 32, u int 32, u int 32, basically. So right now, you are going to probably read this, complete the function, solve me first to compute the sum of two integers. You read it. Example a is equals to 7, b is equals to 3, return 10, right? And then you now go the function. You try to read the constraints, right? And then this, for example, they've given you sample a is equals to 2, b is equals to 3, you should get 5. So the explanation is 2 plus 3, 5, right? So now all you have to do is, what you're doing is the same thing we did. You probably can just copy and paste this, right? C is equals to a plus b, you return the c, or you can just do return a plus b. It's as easy as that, right? So when you're done with your solution, right? Once you're done with your solution, all you have to do is you can first run your code. Processing, that processes, it shows you that you have passed the test cases, and then you can submit your code, right? Once you submit your code, that works, right? Then submit code. So basically it's the same, that works. So now you can basically it's meant to this, yeah. Once you log in, yeah, something I need to point out, once you log into Hakarang, you might need to change your language to Go, right? Because it has so many languages here. So mine is in Go, might need to change that language to Go, right? So now so that's how this works, right? So when you solve the first one, now simple array, you can see a simple array sum. Basically, I might want you to go through this, read the function, solve it. If you can't solve it, just reach out to me in the comment section, and just reach out to me in the comment section, send me message. I'll reply you as soon as possible. So what this says is that given an array of integers, find the sum of its elements. So basically you're going to use for example, okay, if the array is 1 2 3, basically this is slice 1 2 3 and then comma 1 plus 2 plus 3, it should return 6, right? So what you're expecting, you see 1 2 3, so we should be returning 1 plus 2 plus 3 is equals to 6, right? It should return 6. For example, here, sample, this is 6. They're giving you 1 2 3 4 5 6. They're giving you 6 things here. So you're supposed to return in 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 10 plus 11, which is going to be equals to 31, right? So this is an array. I've shown you how to do a loop. So what you do, you do the loop and then you add it, but so let's just look at it here. So I would like you to do it on your own, so you can build your muscle power, and next time you get it done. But I know we did a loop here somewhere, so you might have an array. You might have an array, right? For example, array of this. So let me just do this. Then you might go to the next one, and then you try and implement it, right? And you try and implement the next hack around. You can just keep going, it builds on your confidence, right? Just keep going. The more you go, the better. So let's just do a from array sum, right? Array sum, which takes an array. Let's just say an array of integer, takes an array of ints. Please take note, most times I think they use uint32, right? I'm using ints because I feel it's something you can easily relate to. Takes an array of ints and returns an int, because the sum is going to be an int, right? So let me just tell you how my thought process, this thought process could go, right? You can just initialize var sum, which is an int, right? Or sum is equals to 0, or you can just do sum, but I would advise you do var sum is equals to int, so that if you're working with uint, you can just do var sum is equals to uint. For example, what we are working here is int 32, right? You can just do var sum is equals to int 32. Let's just work with the int 32, right? So int 32, right? So, and then what you're doing, you are using a loop here, the for loop I showed you. So whatever array of, sorry, this should be an array, a slice, sorry, not even an array, a slice, whatever slice that they are giving you, right? Whatever slice that they're giving you, so you might just want to do for the index equals to 0, starting from index 0. Like if you can go back with the video, you might probably see what's where we explain the looping, right? And then you now do where I is less than, where I is less than length, the length of the whatever the array that is coming in, this array that is coming in, the array they are feeding in here, when I is equals to less than the length, and then whatever you do, whatever you want to do, and you continue I plus plus, right? And then what do you want to do? What you want to do is you easily just want to make add whatever you want to add to. So it's going to be sum is equals to sum plus array of I. That's easy as that, right? You just want to take whatever item that is I of index 0 and just keep adding it. At the end of the day, you are going to return sum. At the end of the day, you are returning sum, right? So it's as easy as that. So now let's clear this. Let's just do this answer. Okay, what we do? Just clear this first. We've already know this. We've already known this, right? So let's just initialize an array or something. Array or whatever. Just array 1. Any name basically. So, and you have to understand that you are looking for an array of. You specify that this function takes an array of int 32, so that passing an array of int 32 in there, right? So let's start with 1. Let's just use the example, right? The example here they use is 1 2 3 4 10 11, right? 1 2 3 4 10 11, right? So this is the array. Let's take this out. We are done with summation, so you can just do array sum. So you're passing this array 1 in there, right? So we are going to print the answer here. Basically, it's going to what's going to happen is that once this array gets in here, which it says as this, so it's going to start from index 0, which is 1, right? If it's 1 less than the length of the array, what's the length of the array? It's going to be 1 2 3 4 5 6 6, right? Yes, it's less than that, so it's going to do whatever stuff it's going to do. It's going to be 0. This starts from 0. Basically, this flag is equals to 0. It starts from 0 anyways, so you don't really need to put that. It's going to be 0 is equals to 0 plus what's that array of that index 0, which is 1 plus 1 is going to be 1, right? So now this sum is going to be 1. Then it now goes to, and it now does I plus plus. It goes to the next index, which is index 1, which is 2, and now does 1 plus 1 is equals to 1. This sum is equals to 1, which is the sum, plus 2, which is the second index of index 1. So it's going to go through the loop until it returns the answer, right? So let's just try this out. Yeah, save. 31, right? You can see that's 31. You can see that's 31. And that's what you're expecting to get here, right, as the answer. So I would ask you to do it yourself. Try and do it. Let me just copy this solution, right? So you want to know this is right, you can just copy the solution here, copy, come to where you're supposed to write your code. This way you're supposed to write your code, paste it there. And remember, see, it's showing error because it's saying R, you're expecting R here. So always know that's just a variable name. You can always name it anyway. So you just change it back to R, right? Basically, you're done. You're done with the solution. You run the code, hopefully. Processing that. See, it has tested whatever it needs to test and it's good. So you might want to just submit your code. Submit your code, yeah. All the cases passed. So basically that's it. I'm just giving you tips. So just go through the video. So just basically when you're done with this, you can always go back. Normally I'm supposed to get to the next stuff, but if it doesn't, always go back. Take the next on the line, complete compare triplets. You can do the compare triplet. Maybe next time we'll probably be we'll look at if statements and greater than, equals to, and some other basic things. Let's just get our basic foundation, right? Let's just get our foundation strong, then we'll start doing some more interesting things like interfaces, structs for the object programming, but we'll get there, right? So I hope you learned a lot from today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Check back in. Thank you.